And welcome everybody to our second episode of Off the Bench. My name is Esteban Velez, and today, January 22nd, 2023, we have another special guest with us, Culver Stockton women's basketball player Aaliyah Ortiz, the grad student out of Tucson, Arizona, joining us today. We're very excited to have her along. Aaliyah, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Love to hear that. So let's get right to it, Aaliyah. On and off the court, how would you describe yourself?
For the most part, I'm pretty shy. Don't speak much. But on the court, a little more outgoing. And yeah.
So let's start first with this kind of sour topic. Let's get into injuries, and more specifically, your injury. So during the summer, you had a surgery for your knee. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of talk to us about what was that about? What kind of went through your head, and what was the surgery for?
So I had a bipartite patella, which means underneath the x-ray, kind of looked like my knee was fractured, and that's what was causing me pain. And it was a pretty fast recovery, but I was nervous at the beginning of the season because I wasn't able to do open gym, and it was a little bit slower getting back into it.
Were you worried at all whenever you were getting the surgery, or even after, about how that could affect your performance on the court?
Oh, for sure, because a couple weeks after I was getting in the gym, and it wasn't the same as before, and even now it still bothers me every now and then.
So even during this season right now, you've kind of had a couple minor injuries. I'm not too sure exactly what all they've been. Can you kind of let us know, what the injuries are, how you're feeling right now, and what's gone through your head during the season?
So I sprained my ankle recently. It's not as bad, but the one that really gets me is my plantar fasciitis on the bottom of my foot. And it comes on, comes off, but it puts needles in it and I'm fine.
Do you usually feel that during the game at all?
Adrenaline takes care of most of it, but it's mostly when I'm at a standstill.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't really seem like you feel that, during the game, especially two game days ago against CMU. Impressive stats over there, especially you being able to play the entire 40 minutes. We haven't seen that in a while, especially here at Culver Stockton. Were you worried at all for the next game that you were going to be a little bit fatigued at all?
Well, in the moment, I didn't even think about it. But afterwards, I got some good recovery, and I felt ready to go.
Before we dive in deeper into this season and your games so far, last two seasons actually, you got used to playing with your sister, Aaliyah Ortiz, here at college, something you were used to doing at high school as well. This season, however, she transferred, and you guys are no longer playing together on the court. How has that affected you both on and off the court, and how have you been able to adjust to, not having your sister by your side every single day?
Well, my first 2 years of college, I did play without her, but I really got used to her last year, and we just kind of knew what each other were going to do on the court. But off the court, I had a couple of friends that helped me through it.
That's always good to hear. At least you're, able to adopt well, and as I said during the season, it looks like you're doing pretty great on the court. So, really thankful for that. Getting into your not last game, but the game before that, Thursday at CMU, you guys were off to a pretty good start. You guys were leading pretty much the entire way, something we've seen a decent amount from you guys this season. However, kind of choked at the fourth quarter and came up with a narrow loss over there. What was the coach's message after the game, and how were the players' emotions after the loss?
When the last buzzer went off, we all looked defeated, but going into the locker room, we really came together, and that was a good turning point for us because most of the season has been pretty rough. But our coach didn't really yell at us much. She was pretty positive and just told us, we need to work on rebounding more.
In that game, as I mentioned earlier, you played the full game. You had 40 minutes. You had 17 points. You led the team in points and assists as well with 8. You almost had another double-double to your career. You had 4 steals and 5 rebounds. What does that say about you as a player, not just in that game, but throughout the entire season so far?
I think it is more of a team effort because I can't do all those stats without everybody else helping with either tips or making the basket going to the ball. But I am pretty proud of myself. Come a long way.
That's great to hear. We love it. And were you at all worried? You know, you guys had a game 2 days after that, a tough one against Mid-America. Were you worried you weren't going to be fully recovered for that game?
No, I actually was feeling pretty good the next day, so didn't have to worry about that.
During the season, you guys have had your ups and downs so far. Kind of started off a little bit shaky, then got back on the road and kind of shaky again. And going back to it, a lot of narrow losses. What has been, if you can say, the main issue for you guys this season to be so inconsistent and just not able to close out close games?
Our coach has been praising rebounding a lot because that's where we struggle the most. And that is something I very much agree with.
You guys have also had a lot of injuries this season. Can you talk to us about how that's affected your team's performance? We've kind of seen a lot of players, you know, be good for a game or two, then get a minor injury, and then be off. And then another player recovers, and then another player gets an injury. So the inconsistency of the starting lineup because of it, can you tell us how exactly it's impacted your team?
Well, we have a lot of young players. It's a very young team. And adapting to each other and the way we play has been difficult because I think I'm the oldest other than Winter on the team. And so just trying to figure out how they will react to pressure. Yeah.
Looking a bit of your conference stats right now, you're currently leading the conference in assists. You're fourth in free throw percentage, third in steals, and seventh in blocks. We're going to talk about these individually, but the one that stands out to me the most is the blocks. You're 5'6", and then you're still seventh in blocks in the Heart of America Athletic Conference standings. What does that say about you defensively and the commitment you have to get back on the defensive end and just give it all for your team?
Blocks has always been something I've enjoyed doing. Like, that's probably my favorite stat out of all the lineup. So whenever I can get a block, I'm going to take that chance.
Talking now about the assists, first in the conference. What makes you so special in being able to find your teammates and have that vision on the court, just knowing where everyone is?
I think it's my court awareness and knowing where they're going to be, not where they're at.
In terms of free throws, I got to speak to Jeanette Bergen, Coach Bergen, earlier this season. She said she wants you guys to shoot at least 75% on a daily basis in terms of games. If not, you're running laps. You're currently fourth in free throws in the conference standings. How do you prepare for that? And is there any pressure on you at all when you're at the line, you know, just thinking, if we don't get this certain amount of percentage, we're going to be doing this as a punishment? What goes through your head when you're in the free throw line?
So I don't think so much of the punishment, but I have a routine that I do. And in my head, I said God, family, and then myself.
Now looking at the steals part of it, back to the defensive end. You're third in steals in the conference standings. Again, do you just enjoy being a defensive player all around? Because I know some players just don't really like to work so hard defensively, but you're leading the stats in the defensive end of things.
I do have to say I enjoy on the defensive end more than scoring or anything else. And it also helps with our defense, how we get a lot of tips. So it makes it a little bit easier for me too.
Going back to yesterday's game, Saturday, January 20th, you guys played Mid-America National Reed. We were able to, call that game, Jacob and I. We were really excited after the first quarter. We were like, okay, we're facing the number 4 team in the conference, and we're winning. We held them to 4 points in the first quarter. Then second quarter came around. We were already kind of celebrating. At the half, we're leading by 23. We were like, we won this game. We're excited. We're going to get a top-notch win. However, the final result, not exactly what we were hoping, not exactly what we thought would take place. We were losing by 1 point at the end of things. What was the main difference between the first half and second half that just, let you guys not be able to pick up the win?
It didn't seem like we were as focused and ready to go. And when they changed and started hitting shots, we didn't adapt to that. And we kind of settled for what we were already at and just didn't push it all the way through.
Would you say coming out of the locker room at halftime, you guys were a bit overconfident and already thought you had won the game?
I think so.
Mid-AM, as I mentioned earlier, winning the third quarter 21-7 and the fourth quarter 21-11. At the end of the game, how did you guys take the loss? And once again, what was coach's message after the tough defeat?
That one, I think it really hit us hard because the game's not over until the 40 minutes are up. And we did get chewed out, rightfully. And it all came back down to the defensive side. Just couldn't get stops, and then we weren't pushing on the other side.
You kind of talked about it a little bit in terms of defense. You guys were doing great the first two quarters, forcing a lot of turnovers. We saw that against CMU as well. You guys forced 19 turnovers out of CMU. So defensively, first two quarters looking pretty good. And as you said, third and fourth kind of slowed down things on the defensive end of things. Next Wednesday, you guys will be facing William Penn. What exactly are we supposed to be expecting out of the game?
Well, we need to lock in mostly on the defensive side because it's not going to be an easy game. None of these games are going to be, and of course we want to win them all, but we just have to be prepared and locked in.
You guys are pretty much at the halfway point of the season right now. For the rest of the season, what are your goals, your personal goals for yourself, and what are the team's goals so far? Is making conference tournament, the playoffs, it's still an achievable goal for the team?
It is an achievable goal for us, and we just need to continue to hold down and have each other's backs through this hard time. But I think we can do it. I think it's very possible.
I got a couple more questions before we let you go. More on the personal side of things, what is one team in the conference you like facing and why?
I like facing?
Yeah, the team you feel most comfortable facing. If you're like, let's play this team, I feel like I'm comfortable facing this team, let's do it. Which one would it be?
I have to say William Penn.
That's good.
Yes, because we played amazing against them the first time around, but I still don't know if it'll be like that the second.
If you had to name one part of your game that's your strong suit, what would that be?
I would like to say my court vision. I can see the floor very well.
And one area of your game you want to improve the most. What's your kind of like weak point?
Shooting. Shooting is definitely my weak point.
Last one we have for you. This is your last season in college, last year of eligibility. Once your season and career is all said and done, what do you want people to remember you for?
How hard I worked and just the presence I brought on the floor.
Perfect. Aaliyah, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you along. Second segment, we'll be here talking with Jacob Jehling, talking about MLS, USFL, and just football in general, as well as MLB, some big contracts coming up. We're excited for that one. Thank you, Aaliyah. It's been a pleasure having you along. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And welcome back, everybody, as we are now getting ready for a second segment here tonight, welcoming in Jacob Jehling. As he's with us right now, we are ready to talk sports, Jacob. A pleasure to have you on today. First, let's get into kind of a sour type of topic, especially if you're a Cardinals fan. Let's talk about Cardinals baseball. Let's begin, Jacob, with last season for the Cardinals. Didn't go their way by any means. They finished with a 71-91 record, last in the NL Central, and 21 games behind the leading Brewers. Jacob, you're a big Cardinals fan. I'm a pretty big Cardinals fan, not as big as you yet. What did you make of their season this past 2023 year?
Yeah, honestly, being from St. Louis, that's quite a shock to see how the Cardinals be that low, just be in last place. And I know seeing the Cardinals fans around me, I know my brother's a big Cardinals fan and my dad is, and even the whole city. It was just demoralizing to see the city watch their Cardinals, and just to see them struggle is something different you don't really see. As you said before, they're in last place in the NL Central, which is really tough. but it was really weird to see. You kind of couldn't believe that was happening. I mean, I would go to a couple of games and be like, what is happening? I mean, ERAs were through the roofs for the pitchers. The hitters weren't doing well. It was just a weird season.
Well, that's the thing. Their pitching was really the main issue, especially their starting pitching. You mentioned kind of ERA. The best starting pitcher with the best ERA was Steven Matz, and he had a 3.86 ERA, and that's your best pitcher. It's almost up to 4. It's really not a good ERA, especially if you're the one leading your team. In terms of win for starting pitchers, it was Miles Nicholas with a 9-13 record. So not really impressive. The offense wasn't really too bad at times. We did see them struggle. We did see they weren't able to get those clutch base hits, especially when there were runners for scoring position. But the pitching really was the main issue for them.
Yeah, that was really tough. And Wainwright with his last season, you'd hope he would get a lot of wins and have a good season, but he just didn't have really. I mean, he didn't do awful, but he was one of the better Cardinal pitchers. But you want to see him have a little bit of a better season than his last one. But I mean, the Cardinals kind of in this offseason go into a nostalgic roster. They signed back one of their pitchers from the 2011 World Series, Lance Lynn. He played with them from 2011 to 2015 and had a little stint with them 2017. So it's kind of cool to see him back. I remember watching him. He was really fun to watch. He was pretty good. I really liked his pitching style, how he pitched. He was really aggressive too, and you just really enjoyed the game, and you could tell too.
Yeah, this is going to be his 14th year in the league. How big of a factor is he actually going to be for Cardinals rotation? Because he was great at one point with the Cardinals. He's had a tremendous career in the MLB. But he's getting up to that age where it's kind of old, especially now with the younger players rising. We see a lot of just younger players take control of the game. How big of a factor is the age going to be for Lance Lynn?
Right now, I don't think they're going to be super dependent on Lance Lynn. I mean, he was really good with the Cardinals, went and played with the Twins, the Rangers, and did okay, did meh. But really with the White Sox is where you saw him kind of get his game back and come back. But now coming back to the Cardinals, he can kind of teach all these pitchers that they're kind of building up here in the minors and building in the bullpen. He's going to add that veteran presence. And in any sport, you need something like that to teach these rookies how to play the game, how to mentally play the game. And he's going to be there to kind of add a little support. Not as much so as training wheels, but a little bit like that. He's going to guide the team and show them this is what it means to be a St. Louis Cardinal, because there is a certain way you have to be a Cardinal. I know a lot of people hold themselves to a higher standard because St. Louis is such a rich history in baseball, and it is very honored to be a St. Louis Cardinal, and so you want to play your best, because being in St. Louis for playing baseball is one of the biggest things I think you could be in the MLB. Some of these top teams, it's a lot of baseball players consider itself to be an honor to play for the Dodgers, the Yankees, and especially the Cardinals. Just all those teams with super rich history in America's pastime. And it's just a really big deal. And to have Lance Lynn be that foundation in there, you can provide a lot of, I'd say, a little bit of stability within the roster.
Another thing about Lance Lynn is he knows how to win. He was a part of the 2011 World Series championship team with the Cardinals. And from what I've heard from the Cardinals this past season during the offseason, they're trying to go for a ring this next 2024 season. My opinion, I don't think they're going to make it, Jacob. I think they're going to be quite way short. I don't think this is going to be their season. Next 2 years ahead, I can kind of see them making a deeper push into the playoffs. Not exactly winning the World Series, but just kind of getting their footing back in the playoff race. Lance Lynn is, as you said, going to be a key figure for them, not necessarily just on the field, but really in the clubhouse. He's going to be able to, train the younger guys, teach him the Cardinals way. And with the experience of him knowing what it takes to win, That's exactly what the Cardinals need. They need someone to be able to show them the ropes, to remember how to win a World Series. And, Lance Lynn is going to be able to do just that. And with him, another guy who won the World Series with him in 2011 will be Matt Carpenter. He'll be joining the Cardinals this season as well. So having those two in the clubhouse will definitely do wonders for the Cardinals this season.
Yeah, I think the Matt Carpenter signing was very interesting, especially to me. He's being paid for 1 year. His contract's 1 year, and the MLB minimum for paying at $740,000. So that leads me to believe that the signing of Matt Carpenter is just going to be like a goodbye.
Yep.
He played with the Cardinals from 2011 to 2021, played for the Yankees, and then he got traded to the Padres last season. And then right here during this offseason, last month, he got traded to the Braves, and then 3 days after he got traded to the Braves, they let him go. So that's how the Cardinals got Matt Carpenter. I believe that this is going to be, he's going to retire after this year, and he's wanting to stick with St. Louis and do his farewell tour with it. Now, I don't think that'll happen with Lance Lynn, because we saw with Lance Lynn, he signed 2 years, and he can potentially earn $24 million. He's guaranteed 11 this year and 10 next year. So Matt Carpenter, he'll probably end up being a DH. He's not going to play in the field. But I'm not sure if this is really worth it, because you're taking up roster room, and especially last year we saw it, and now this year, especially in the outfield, a very, very young team. You got Nolan Gorman, Tommy Edman, Jordan Walker, the fresh rookie. Mason Wynn's going to get some time in there as well. And so maybe for the veteran presence, maybe, but I don't think his ability, I think he had his stint with the Cardinals. It was good, but I think his time's done. And what I've heard from a lot of Cardinals fans is, yeah, we don't like it, but we can all tell he's just doing it to say goodbye, which is nice and stuff, but I don't know. I think he comes up clutch in a couple of moments, but then other than that, he doesn't really do much. I've seen him play. He plays all right, but that was a very interesting signing this offseason.
Yeah, I don't think 2024 is going to be Matt Carpenter's season. I don't think anyone is really expecting much out of him. I don't necessarily like to say it like this, but we kind of see like a little charity type of, contract in the sense of, come here so you can retire. We can see it as a negative in terms of why are we spending money on someone who's not really going to necessarily help the club on the field. However, when you look at it from a fan point of view, tickets are going to sell. You want to see Matt Carpenter retire with the Cardinals. If you're a Cardinals fan, you're going to go there to see him one last time. So when you look at it from that side of things, it's revenue coming in by the tickets that are being sold. There's going to be a big ceremony, I'm sure, for him as well as Lance Lynn. There are going to be a couple, especially at the end of the season. That brings people in. If you get people into your ballpark, you get people to buy stuff. You get people to get your merchandise. That means more revenue. If you get more revenue this year, more money to spend next year. And once again, that's why I think 2025, 2026 is going to be a good season for the Cardinals. Another reason I say that, Marmol's contract is going to expire after the 2024 season. I think a bunch of us are happy about that. Who's going to take over him? We all hope it's Yadier Molina. There's nothing for sure yet, but Molina's already getting involved with the team once again. We were kind of expecting him to be the manager this season, or at least that's what we wanted to see. It didn't quite work out. He's instead going to be a special assistant advisor to the GM operation, or the president of the Cardinals, I should say. So it's going to be a part-time job for Molina, but it kind of gets him involved again with Cardinals baseball. The season, or the 2025 season, will give us a lot to look forward to from Molina's side of things. If you're the Cardinals, how much do you push to get Molina to be your manager for the 2025 season?
Oh, I think that's going to be a huge deal. That's going to be awesome. I mean, him just coming back to be with the Cardinals He's been there the whole career, and he still hasn't gotten tired of them yet. He said he's loved the city. He loves the fans with all his heart, and the fans give him what he wants. And he gives the fans what we want. So we love him to death. I think even as a catcher, he still had a huge leadership role. And I think sometimes he had more power than Marvel. Yeah, I know he would probably call pitches other than what Marvel would want. He knew his team best, and I think that's what I liked about Yadi so much. Is growing up watching him, he was always my favorite. He's the reason I'm a catcher now and stuff. But his leadership is so big, and he's got this whole mentality of I'm gonna do my thing. I don't care what you're gonna do. I'm gonna do mine, and I'm gonna do my thing. Well, I remember during the World Baseball Classic, during a spring training game too. This kid got cocky. He's like, all right. Take second. Kid took second. Molina threw him out by a mile. So I just love seeing Yadi be like that. And that's how he plays the game. He plays it with heart. And, yeah, even times when he's batting, I've gone to Cubs games, and he's gotten drilled. He's mouthed out the pitcher, and he's getting ready to go. And he'll fight for his team. He'll fight for himself. And I just love that fact about Molina. I think that's going to add a little bit of fire to this Cardinal team that is doing so poorly right now.
Someone who's a key figure for Molina, both inside the world of baseball and just on a personal level, is Adam Wainwright. We saw Wainwright retire this past season with the Cardinals. I don't know if this was what you were expecting. I was kind of hoping it would take place, and that was to see Wainwright back with the Cardinals as a pitching coach. Wainwright signed, but it wasn't with the Cardinals. It was with Fox Sports. He's going to be commentating games, including the London series coming up this next season. So for 2025, I'm really hoping it might be a little bit of, not really realistic, just me dreaming maybe. But I really hope he gets to go with the Cardinals and, becomes a pitching coach. Can you imagine Yadier Molina as the head coach, manager, and then you got Wainwright as your pitching coach? That would just be amazing. If you can get that for a 2025 season, fans are going crazy. The team, the atmosphere is entirely going to change. And I'm really hoping that's what we get for the 2025 season.
Well, something interesting about that, too, is Albert Pujols, the whole trio. Now, a part of Pujols' contract with the Angels was once he retired from baseball, he had to come work in management. I don't remember how many years it is, but he has to work with the Angels for, I think, maybe 3-4 years. But once that is up, he is for the taking. So I would imagine once that comes up, he'll be working for the Cardinals. Wainwright will be working for the Cardinals. And Yadi will be with the Cardinals as well. So I think you'll have Yadi as a head coach. You'll have probably Pujols as a batting coach or a first base coach or a fielding coach. And then you're going to have Wainwright as pitching coach, which is great to see. Albert Pujols, known for his hitting. His deep bombs to left center field, left field. You always love to see those highlights. Wainwright for his nasty 12-6 curve. That's going to be great. And then Yadi just for his heart in the team. Yeah, as a good leader. That'll be awesome to see.
We might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves looking into the 2025 season. Let's go back to reality right now and take a look more into 2024. Projected lineup for the Cardinals right now. Catching, you kind of had Contreras. I don't know how you feel about that, but we have Contreras as catcher right now. First baseman, welcome back, Paul Goldschmidt. I'm really happy to see what he can do this season for the Cardinals. Middle infielder, you got Gorman at second, a bit of a controversial call there, as well as Wynn at shortstop. Third base, no doubt about it, Nolan Arenado. Really excited for him to have a blowout season. We've already seen what he can do with the Cardinals. Power, average. Really excited for him. Taking a look at the outfield, you got Tommy Edman at center. Donovan at left field, and a little battle between Walker and Nootbaar at right. I don't know about you, Jacob. I don't necessarily like Walker defensively. He has been praised for his offense. He's really good. He's a power hitter. He can hit for average every now and then, but his strength is just power. Defensively, he has a lot to work on. He doesn't really look comfortable at the outfield. I would say maybe a DH type of role, but it might be taken this season with Matt Carpenter. So I'm not really sure how Walker will fit regularly as a starter with the Cardinals in this next season.
It is definitely evident that Walker is a rookie. He's still trying to find his place. You can tell that. And he's a big dude. And you just don't believe it how big he is when you see a game in live person. And you're right. He's definitely more comfortable at the plate. He knows that he can hit well. But just like everyone else, he's going to have his off days. And of course, being a rookie, he's going to get judged a little bit more. But the outfield, even Donovan and left. I went to, I think, like 6 games over summer, and the outfield was different every single time. And, like, I know Edmund has played center, Newt has played center, and Walker's always been right. That's no change. Donovan's been in center. Donovan's left. There's just so many possibilities. It's like the lottery on what you're going to get in that outfield. And it's a really young outfield, which, I mean, we need. I think you should have probably signed over the offseason a veteran outfielder. We haven't had a veteran outfielder since. The one that sticks out in my mind is Matt Holliday out in left field. And ever since then, I think they've been kind of struggling to find their outfield. I mean, their outfield hasn't been terrible. They make plays. They're all fast. Walker's fast. Edmund's fast. I've seen Donovan. You don't think he's fast, but he is fast.
You think Walker's fast?
Yeah. I think he looks slow running, but he's just so tall and his legs are so big that he's able to create that speed.
Yeah, he can cover ground for sure.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I think Donovan's got a strong arm. He can throw it from left field right to the plate. It's pretty incredible to see. But, yeah, I think they just need to develop more and play a little bit more, and they'll be all right in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Newbar. I'm a big Lars Newbar fan, as you know, a lot of Cardinals fans are. Every time he steps up to the plate, you can just hear the Newbar type of deal into the stadium. So I'm really excited for him. I'm voting for him over Walker. I really hope he gets, more of a chance here this next season. Moving on from the topic of baseball, let's take a look. Something interesting has been going on. The USFL and the XFL merger, I should say. Getting my words there a little tripped up. Jacob, can you explain what exactly this is? It's a pretty new deal for most of us. Just give us some more information on what we're talking about.
Yeah, so the USFL was a league that was created in the 80s, and this was a springtime football league. Pretty close rules to the NFL, and it just played through the 80s. It was reincarnated in the year of 2022 with 8 teams: the Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, Memphis Showboats, the Michigan Panthers, New Jersey Generals, the New Orleans Breakers, Philadelphia Stars, and the Pittsburgh Maulers. And that kind of provided an opportunity for more football. You got the NFL in the summer and the fall, and a little bit of the winter. And after that, there wasn't any more football. So springtime football is offering a chance for some of these other cities to be able to experience more football. And then you have the XFL. Now, the XFL, like the USFL, started earlier, but it died after a couple of seasons. It was started by, actually, WWE chairman Vince McMahon, and it was kind of this wrestling merger. It was really weird, and that was back in the 90s, late 2000s, or early 2000s. But then that died off in a couple of years. And then just before COVID, it was reincarnated as more closer to football, more realistic football with a couple of rule changes. And that, too, also had 8 teams, but it ended earlier because of COVID. Now, just last season, Dwayne Johnson bought the XFL, started up the league again, and they had a great market in Arlington, Texas. And they made that their hub and used everything. And it worked out really well. They had 8 teams again. They had the DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, St. Louis Battlehawks, the Vegas Vipers, the Arlington Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the Orlando Guardians, and the San Antonio Brahmas. So 3 Texas teams in there, definitely showing the might of football in Texas. But what was different about this league was a couple of rule changes, and it too played in the spring. So with these rule changes, they wanted to make it so that it was a little bit more safe for the players, and that it was more of I would say, fair game. So, like, on kickoffs, they had the kicking team on the opponent's 35, and the receiving team would line up on the 30. The only person that would be back super far is the kicker, right? And the teams could not move until the receiver caught the ball. Now, that can make for some better quick plays. That limits injury because you got the kicking team coming at full blast instead. Now you got teams more closely together, and it's more of who can block better challenge. You have the double pass rule, which means you can throw it and then throw it again. I did go to one game over the last season. Didn't see that much. You don't really see it that often. You can now challenge any penalty, but keep in mind the coaches only get one challenge a game. Penalties are challenged. Every play is subject to review. Every single play can be reviewed. Now, there are refs and officials in separate place that look over these for every game. There's no extra point kicks allowed. So what it is instead is you get 1 point for making it in from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5-yard line, and 3 points for the 10-yard line. It's not utilized much, but we have seen it. I remember St. Louis Battlehawks came back from like a 10-point deficit with 2 minutes left, and they utilized the tries from the 10-yard line, onside kicked, and went back and scored another touchdown and won the game. So that was pretty wild. They're calling the XFL last year the Opportunity League because we see it's for a lot of these players who are able to play football well, but just don't play with the NFL teams. I know there's been a lot of them, and it's created great opportunity. A lot of them signed with NFL teams over the offseason as well. So then the merger. After the 2023 season, it was announced that for the 24th season that the USFL and the XFL would merge. They're still going to stick with 8 teams, but they've got an XFL and USFL divisions. In your USFL divisions, you have the Birmingham Stallions, the Memphis Showboats, the Michigan Panthers, and the Houston Roughnecks. Now, the Roughnecks used to be in the XFL, but the USFL also had a Houston team, so they just took that one. In the XFL, you've got the Arlington Renegades, DC Defenders, and San Antonio Brahmas, as well as what has been said as the biggest market for spring football is there in St. Louis. St. Louis, huge crowd. They love their football there. Ever since the Rams left, people have been disappointed. No one has liked it that they didn't have football. I know the Rams didn't do great, but the fans loved it. And the Battlehawks fan loves football there. They get wild. It's pretty crazy. And what this league is, they're calling it the UFL, so United Football League. It's making an opportunity for these cities without an NFL team. And it's a big market for the springtime football. They're going to be on ESPN, ESPN Plus. They're going to be on Fox and ABC. So that covers cable and antenna TVs. So you can watch XFL, the UFL, wherever you want as well.
So here, I got a couple questions for you. You kind of mentioned first about the challenge. You said they can challenge every play, but they only get one challenge per game. Is it kind of like baseball in the sense of, you can challenge, and then if you win the challenge, you get an extra one? Or is it here you only challenge one, and if you win or lose it, you only have one?
So you only get one, but then any other play, the officials in the video, their job is to look after every play, and before the next play starts, they can tell the refs, hey, you got this wrong, fix it. So you won't have to use your challenge as much, but there are times I've seen it used, and it's worked, and just like any other sport, you lose your challenge.
So as long as, the referees are doing their job and being consistent and aware of, bad call could have gone either way, as you say, you won't really have to use your challenge as much. I would like to see that in baseball too. If we saw that from the umpires in baseball, I think it'll be a great help for the managers from both teams.
Especially if Aaron Hernandez is up there.
Yeah, if you're Aaron Hernandez, you kind of need a couple people for that to help you out. Okay,
That's a rough one.
yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay, getting back to the XFL and the merger. So, what type of players exactly go to this league? Is it people or players that already retired from the NFL? Is it the players that didn't quite make it? Why would a football player want to go to this league?
It's a lot of these players that haven't quite made it, but they are good, and I've seen them. I know that the Battlehawks had the specialist of the year because he returned like three kick returns for a touchdown. And this is all played on a normal football field size. It's all the same dimensions as NFL. Everything looks the same. And it's pretty impressive what some of these people can do. They can throw long bombs. It's just people looking for an opportunity to be able to play pro football because it is pro football. They are paid like pro football. They're paid in the millions. And it just gives them an opportunity to be seen and to keep playing the sport. A lot of these players just want to keep playing the sport.
So, okay, you kind of mentioned they're already paid as pro footballers in terms of millions of dollars. So if you're in this league, why exactly would you want to go to the NFL? Like, what would drive you to say, okay, my goal is to be in the XFL for 1 year, 2 year, 3, and then move up to the NFL if you're already getting paid and getting the exposure of an NFL type of player?
I'm not really sure why players are going to. I would think it's because of the superiority. You know, the NFL has been around for years. This XFL league is brand new, and it does have a pretty good following by fans, but not as good as the NFL. If you go to the NFL, you're going to get recognized more. You're going to get paid more because that league does have more money. They do. But it's just looking for that more exposure and better marketing because it is a bigger league. The NFL is way bigger than the UFL. But this just gives them an opportunity either to play in the offseason for the NFL, because I know Darius Shepard, one of the players on the Battlehawks, played a great season with the Battlehawks, went and played in the NFL, and now he's coming back. So it gives them, and it's also a league to help. I know a lot of college students are starting to get in there, and it's good opportunities for them. And then as well, just kind of building their skills. It's a good league to build their skills in.
So this league is played, as you said, in the spring season for the most part. And you mentioned the dimensions are the same as the NFL's. What about the stadiums? Do they play these games in regular NFL stadiums? Are they special indoor stadiums? Or where do these games take place?
Yeah, so last year was a little weird. There's a couple of stadiums that were definitely should not have been playing. Like, there was a team called the Vegas Vipers, and they played in a baseball field that only seated 2,000 people.
Well, did they get 2,000 people to go to the games? How big is the fan base?
It all depends on the stadium and some of the following. I know the Vegas Vipers are really small, so they only had 2,000 people at a game, which is nothing. But the St. Louis Battlehawks, they played at the Dome at America Center. It used to be called Edward Jones Dome, which is where the Rams used to play. That dome seats 66,000. They had an average attendance of 35,000. And that fills the whole lower bowl and the middle bowl, and a couple in the upper bowl. So they can pack. At least Battlehawks, they've packed their stadium. I know the Sea Dragons, they played in Seattle, and they played where the Seahawks played. They packed that arena a lot, or that stadium. I'm trying to think who else. Some of these places are playing in soccer stadiums, like the DC Defenders. They played where DC United plays, and they always had a packed arena, I keep saying arena, a packed stadium. And then some of these UFL teams or USFL teams, they they were from one city or place, but they actually played in a different place. Like, I think Michigan Panthers and another team played in Canton, Ohio. It was kind of weird that way. And the XFL was the same way, too. The teams would train and practice and do all their meetings and stuff in Arlington, Texas. And then on the Friday before they would play, they would fly to their cities, play in their games, and then fly back to Arlington. So I don't know why they do that, but that's kind of, they do play in these professional stadiums.
Well, and I'm really surprised that there's such a big fan base for this XFL league, especially in Texas. They already have a couple football teams over there. So my thought process was that this league would get more people in and more exposure in those smaller cities like St. Louis that don't necessarily have a football team. But you kind of mentioned the Seahawks. You know, they have their own NFL team, but they do have an XFL team as well. They share their stadium with them, and they still get a decent amount of people in. Especially in Texas, too, with these 3 teams in the XFL, they have football teams, and you're still getting people in to go to these games. That is really impressive, and it really speaks about how highly football is here in the U.S.
Definitely.
About contracts, I know we talked about the amount of money being, pretty high, not exactly as high as the NFL, but it's getting up there. What about the longevity of the contracts? How big of contracts do we usually see in this league, or how small of contracts usually are they?
Because it's all kind of just started up again, you're seeing very short ones. I think almost all of them signed either 1 or 2 year deals, because there is that possibility that they could go play for the NFL during the summer and the fall. So a lot of them are signed just really short ones. But I know that I think if this league expands more and is really good this year, which I think it will, because I know all of the teams they picked had really good fan bases and really good markets that will bring them in revenue. They'll be able to expand to more longer years.
We're kind of running out of time a little bit here, but let's take a quick look into the world of soccer. Let's start here with the MLS. We're really big St. Louis fans, especially you, and St. Louis City SC is one of the newest teams in the MLS. Talking about their season last year, they had a really good season, at least regular season. They were kind of disappointing in the playoffs, got eliminated pretty early. But already, it was their first season in the league, and they were off to an incredible start. Undefeated in the first 6 games, I believe. 5 games? 5 games. And after that, they picked up their first loss. They were still doing great, being really competitive with teams in their conference, as is LAFC, the top team over there in Los Angeles. I was not expecting that in the first season for St. Louis City SC.
Yeah, no one was expecting it out of St. Louis. I never really watched soccer at all. I wasn't really a big fan of it. I was a big hockey guy. But I didn't even realize how big soccer was in St. Louis. I've lived there my whole life, and it's huge. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to name it St. Louis City SC. I'm like, well, doesn't St. Louis City SC stand for, soccer club? And everyone's like, no, it's soccer capital. I'm like, but I've never really seen soccer at all around here. I mean, they have an indoor soccer team up in St. Charles, and they used to have St. Louis FC, kind of like a Division 3 team, kind of.
Yeah, a little semi-pro team for USL 2 for college players during the summer.
And I was like, well, all right. I was like, new team, it'll be fun. But just seeing that first game, people were blowing their heads off. It was awesome. And I was like, whoa, this is huge. And people are outside the stadium. People are getting loud. They're standing the entire game. And they didn't only do that for the first game, but almost the entire season, people would stand for the whole 90 minutes.
Especially the supporters.
Yes.
Supporters go crazy. The fan base that they built, they come in with all sorts of instruments. They're standing the entire game, as you said. The atmosphere there is crazy.
Yeah, when they came out with the designs of it, I'm like, hey, they've got that whole end a standing room only. I'm like, that's going to suck. Why would they do that? But then they were like, oh, that's for the supporter section. I'm like, what's that? and they were like, "Oh, it's like St. Louis fans." Now the big thing about that was it was supposed to be cheap tickets, but that didn't end up being a thing because of third parties and stuff. But I was never able to go to a game because they would always sell out, and they're really expensive, but I've been told totally worth it. But my friend that went, he said they were loud the entire game. And it wasn't like they were just getting quiet. They were loud. Like, he would have to yell at his friend to talk with him. It was so loud the entire game. So it was really cool to see St. Louis and get their team. I know they've been wanting it for a while. And then how they did, that just blew us out of the water, because I know a lot of people were like, oh, they're not going to do that good. And they won the Western Conference.
Yep.
They were the best team in the West.
They beat LAFC in the regular season for that title. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
For me, my favorite team before last season was LAFC. The main reason as to why now it's St. Louis, not necessarily because they won so much, but because they're close to us. You know, it's like a hometown type of team, even though I'm not born and raised in St. Louis. So I'm really excited to go to a game and just, you know, feel the atmosphere and just experience everything. Speaking about MLS as a whole, their preseason is underway. Regular season starting to kick off at the beginning of March, Saturday, March 16th to be exact. A team I got to see this past summer was Inter Miami. I got to see them play live at Inter Miami Stadium. I would spend the whole summer in Miami over there.
Did you see him with not Ronaldo, Messi?
Well, I wanted to see Messi. When I looked at tickets, my desire to see Messi kind of went down. I got to go to, I think it was 5 Inter Miami games, but it was earlier in the summer. Messi signed for them towards the middle end of July, and he didn't start playing for them until the beginning of August. By that time, I was already out of Miami, so I did not have the chance to see Messi. But even if I was in Miami, I would not have been able to afford that.
I know it was announced that Messi was going to play with Miami, and ticket sales for the game against St. Louis went through the roof. They were at they easily went from $40 up to easily $200. And people were like, oh my God, we're going to get Leo Messi in St. Louis. And then it was announced that he was going to play his first game, the game after they played St. Louis, and everyone was so disappointed. That was a big deal. That was pretty big, even if you weren't a St. Louis City fan. Even that's huge for the MLS. You know, he's had such a big career in Spain, played a little bit with Paris, and to see him come to the United States is really cool to see. I know he probably came too because of his good friend David Beckham, right? He owns Miami, and he's got a couple other friends over here too. He's almost on a world tour now.
Yep.
From Argentina. Played in Argentina, played in South America, went over to Europe, played in Spain, went to France, played there. Now he's back here in the Americas playing, so it's really cool to see Messi. I know he still plays pretty well too.
Yeah, and in terms of tickets, they're not going to be coming down in price anytime soon. Right now, the cheapest ticket, at least for the home games for them, is $150. For one game, you get 90 minutes to see Messi. However, now it's Messi and company. You throw in Luis Suarez, you throw in Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, all of them joining the great Lionel Messi. So $150 to see 4 stars play, I don't know how I feel about that. Would you, Jacob, go to a game for $150 at its minimum, because it's only against select teams, that's the cheapest you'll find, to see 90 minutes of 4 stars playing at an MLS team?
See, I don't know, because I haven't been a soccer fan my whole life. I think a soccer fan or an MLS fan or fans of those stars would definitely pay it. I probably wouldn't, but I know there are times where you really want to see a player, and it definitely is worth that money. But the big thing that comes to mind with when Messi signed with Miami is, are they really going to make a better team? Because I know Messi signed, and people were like, oh, are they going to give Miami a chance to make the playoffs? At this time, when Messi signed, Miami was in dead last. does that star power really help the team? Is it really worth trying to get to the playoffs to sign these playoffs or these players, or are they just looking for revenue from ticket sales, merchandise, stuff like that?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to be extremely disappointed if Inter Miami doesn't make the playoffs this season. I think they'll make the playoffs. I'm 85% sure they're going to make the playoffs. It's not even a think at this point. However, if they don't, for whatever reason, it could be, say, injuries. Say just things don't go their way. Maybe top players are just not clicking. They were all clicking together in Barcelona a couple years back, but maybe the chemistry isn't there right now. You never know the possibilities of things that could go wrong for Inter Miami. And as he said, spending so much money on these players, is it really worth it? I expect them to make playoffs. I expect them to win the whole thing, if I'm being honest. There's a tournament they're going to be a part of, CONCACAF Champions League, as well as the Champions League Cup, or the Leagues Cup, I should say. It's a new tournament, which they already won with Messi and company. Suarez hadn't been in there already, but Jordi Alba, Busquets, and Messi were all part of it. So I'm expecting them to get 3 trophies this season. MLS regular season trophy, CONCACAF Champions League trophy, and the Leagues Cup trophy. If they get anything else than that, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed at them. Especially, just having Messi, Suarez, Busquets, and Jordi Alba. Their first, or not their first match, but their most significant match before the season starts will be February 1st. Jacob, they'll be facing Ronaldo. And his club over there at
Saudi Arabia?
I was going to say in Spanish, Saudi Arabia. So that's going to be a really good match. They've already faced each other, Messi and Ronaldo, when Messi was already at Inter Miami. But now he's going to be facing Messi and company. How is that game going to turn out? And what will it mean? Will this be the last game that we'll see between Messi and Ronaldo?
Ticket sales are going to be crazy because those are the 2 biggest stars in soccer around the world. Football, around the world. Anytime you say soccer or football, what comes to mind is either Ronaldo or Messi. And that's just so automatic. It's kind of crazy because when stars collide like this, the impact and the explosion of these games is so incredible. Like tonight, you've got Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I know in the NHL, the big games were Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby from the Capitals and the Penguins when they were rookies. Even now, it's always that big star power games, and you just see some of these, and it kind of blows your mind how big some of these games are. Because I've gone to rivalry games, I've gone to returning games, and you wouldn't think it, but the energy that some of these things create is unbelievable for the fan base. You can feel it buzzing. Over the winter, I went to a Blues and Blackhawks game, and you can just feel the place just blowing the top off. So seeing some big stars play is really something cool.
Yeah, as you said, that atmosphere and just seeing those big stars is really what makes you want to go back and catch another game and just be a part of it, because you're there, and you're not just there for the game. You're there for the whole experience. It's like a show, kind of. You want to see everything. You want to get there early, experience the pregame, the walkouts, just be a part of everything, just grasp everything in. Jacob, it's been a pleasure having you along today. We've had really a lot of fun here talking about the USFL, the merger with the XFL, as well as MLS soccer, and some Cardinals baseball as well. In terms of soccer, we'll be kicking off again next week. Next episode, we'll have Henry Apia here. He'll be talking to us about the Premier League and just the leagues in Europe in terms of soccer. We'll also be talking about football with Libby Skaggs in the next episode, and we'll be interviewing softball player here from Culver Stockton, Riley Throckmorton, as we get her thoughts ahead of their season. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next episode. It's been a pleasure.